So I would like to welcome everyone to our second webinar in our Ontario Cycling Women's Month's webinar series. So tonight we're going to be doing ride leader training with Amy White. Amy is not only a great racer, she's also a coach, and she's a ride leader who's done a lot of ride leading and ride leader training for London Centennial Wheelers, but also just is also one of our coaches who's been going through coach training, and just all around great female cyclist and female leader in our sport. So really happy to have Amy do this tonight. So just a couple of housekeeping pieces. If you have a question, please put it in the Q&A. I will be moderating and managing it so I can stop Amy and put the question forward. Or alternatively, you can raise your hand, and I'll unmute you, and you can ask your question live. So I am recording this, and we will be sharing the slide presentation deck with everybody. So that will go out via email after the presentation. But without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Amy, and away we go.
Thanks, Pam. Thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight on a sunny, well, it used to be sunny Sunday. If you're in Ontario, you likely have snow that's melted today. Yeah, so Pam gave me a quick introduction. Quick about me: I am a partner in a small Canadian cycling clothing company called Lastic. I am a coach at Attack Racing, which is a London-based youth cycling team. I am race director, volunteer at London Centennial Wheelers. I am also a long-term director and bike marshal coordinator for Forest City Road Races, which is a running race in London, Ontario. It's one of the largest running races in Southern Ontario. And formerly, before I started doing the cycling clothing, I was a CPA in public practice. So that's a quick about me, about this ride leader training webinar. So I kind of based it on road riding as a basis, road or gravel riding. You can still use a lot of the scenarios or instructions for mountain biking. I've made a couple references to that as well, but the ride leader training, the ride leader instruction is most important when you're on the road with cars. That's kind of when you need the most instruction. So a quick overview of what we're going to cover. What are the objectives of ride leader training? What would your duties and obligations be as a ride leader? And I've grouped them kind of based on before the ride, during the ride, and after the ride, what you need to do. What do you need to bring as a ride leader? And what if scenarios? There's so many things that could happen when you're out on the road. So I've tried to encompass some of them, what you're most likely to encounter, and then Q&A at the end. But again, like Pam said, if you've got a question, just post it in the chat and she will let me know. Okay, so what are the objectives of ride leader training, especially from a woman's side of view? We need more ride leaders. I think probably every club, every group could use more ride leaders. If you have more ride leaders, you're going to have more types of rides. Each individual has a type of ride that they prefer to do, and that's the type of ride that they like to lead. So if you've got more ride leaders, you're going to have a greater variation of types of rides that you're going to have. A ride leader does need experience in group riding, but doesn't have to be the strongest on a ride. You just need to be strong enough for the type of ride that you're leading. So I know when I first started into group riding, I was concerned because I'm not a very strong rider. How can I be a ride leader when I'm not the strongest? Well, you don't need to be. You just need to be able to stay in the group that you're in. Objective of ride leader training is to provide a safe and fun ride for everybody. A good ride leader can control the group in a way that keeps things fun, but ultimately you want everything to be safe, especially when you're on the road with cars. And a ride leader training, you want to be able to have the knowledge and skills for almost every single what if scenario that could happen out there on the road and on the trails. So if you've done enough group rides, you've been in enough situations you're going to be able to make a correct or a good decision when something happens. Duties and obligations of the ride leader. And again, before the ride, during the ride, after the ride, what do you need to do as a ride leader? So before the ride, one of the first things, now this is something that your club or your team is going to do, is make sure that the ride is sanctioned or been sent to Ontario Cycling. As an Ontario Cycling club and team, you submit your activities. So that's something your club admin is going to do for you. You might also be the volunteer that does that, depending on how big your club is. The route, very important. You need to know the route that you are taking your group on. You should load the route to your head the unit, unless you're super familiar with it and you don't use a Garmin in your old school. You need to know where the group needs to ride single file, where there's busy sections. Ideally, you're going to have a second or third rider in your group that also has the route in the event your battery dies or something happens. On the route, you need to know where you can stop for nature breaks, where you can stop for food, if there's a cafe. Ideally, if you are planning a cafe stop this is a very important thing, cafe stops in a group ride. If you've got a big group, call the cafe, let them know you're coming. Even the day before, you call them and say, I've got a group of about 20 cyclists that are going to stop in. We're going to be there about this time. A lot of times these small owner-operated cafes, they might have one person working. And if there's a group of 20 that comes in all at the same time, they're going to be completely overwhelmed. So it's just a courtesy. Give them a call. They will appreciate it. They want your business. And also for the route, you need to know, are there any long climbs or descents? So again, here in the part of Ontario, Southern Ontario, where I am, we don't have this. I think our longest climb is, and you have to, yeah, I think our longest climb is, in my area, is about 30 meters. So not a consideration for where I am, but there are parts of Ontario that have longer climbs and descents, and you should know where they are and plan ahead to know when they're coming. Before the ride, you need to know what type of ride you're hosting. As the ride leader, you get to pick what kind of ride you're doing. Is it a social ride? Is it a training ride? Are you going to have intervals? Are you going to do a fast pace line? Are you on trails? Is it a mountain bike ride? Is it a no drop ride? Doesn't matter what happens. You wait for every single rider. Doesn't matter. The slowest rider is going to set the pace of your group. Or is it a drop ride where you say, we're going to do 30 kilometers an hour. If you can't keep up, sorry, you're not going to be able to stay with the group. So all those kinds of things you need to decide before the ride when you're setting things up. And all that information, the next step, you need to let the riders that are signing up for your ride or planning on coming to your ride know this information. So your club or team is likely going to communicate or put on a schedule, a calendar, the types of rides that they're hosting. And you as the ride leader, let them know what kind of ride you're hosting. Is it a social no drop? Plan stops locations. So that way, if somebody maybe they live on the north end and your route halfway point is up the north end, they might want to just stop their ride there. Put the route out there so these people know. And also give them the route. That way, it's ideal with everybody with the head units, the Garmins, the Wahoos. If everybody has the route running on their Garmin, it makes for a lot safer ride. Everybody knows when the turns are coming, stop signs and that type of thing. Now, as I said, I'm a coach with youth cycling as well as I ride with adult riders. So a lot of times when I'm thinking about group riding, the youth focus kind of comes in. When you're dealing with adults, generally adults should be pretty self-sufficient. And you should let them know that they're expected to be somewhat self-sufficient. They should be able to change their own tire. They should have their own tools, their own water and food, or an alternative way home if you're unable to continue on the ride. And it's just a simple thing as that is have your cell phone with you. For myself, I have one bike where I have a super hard time getting the tire off the rim. So if I get a flat, chances are I'm going to be calling for a ride. So I know that if I have that bike, that if something happens, I'm likely going to be on the side of the road waiting for a car to come get me because I can't fix it. Now, a no drop rides, obviously you're going to help the riders try and fix their bike. If they can't, again, adults, self-sufficient. You should be, if something happens, you should be able to get yourself home. What else should we do before a ride? Plan for nature breaks. Depending on the length of your ride, you should really plan, if it's a longer ride, plan to have a bathroom break with an actual bathroom. Bib shorts, as we all know, are not conducive for having a private bathroom break in beside a tree on the side of the road. For most times you need to take off your jersey in order to go to the bathroom. So it's hard to have a nature break in nature with modesty if you need it. Every rider is different. Some people don't care and they are fine with just going on the side of the road, on a quiet road. Some people will be fine with that. Some people won't need breaks. I've seen people, and I don't know how they do it. Like my one friend that I just rode with, she can go like 4 hours, a 4-hour bike ride and not have a break. I'm like, I don't know how she does it. I'm like 30 minutes in and I'm stopping. For my own rides, I usually plan a stop about 30 to 45 minutes in. And just that's for my own personal, and I don't know, again, I'm the ride leader. I get to pick when the stops are. So again, yeah, some need a quiet road, others will need a bathroom with running water. And if you put that in your ride description, you're going to get more riders out. If they know for sure that their ride that they signed up for has a stop with an actual bathroom, you're going to get more riders. Whereas some rides, it's like, sorry, we're going back roads. You need to bring all your own food and it's completely self-sufficient. There's no stops at all. So if you communicate that ahead of time, you'll get the riders that, and you have a bathroom break, you're going to get the riders out that maybe need a bathroom. And it's not just women. Men need to go number 2 too, right? Like it's sometimes you need a toilet and you need toilet paper and running water. And that's just a requirement. So that's an important thing to communicate as well and plan for ahead of time. And again, like if you're only planning an hour ride, you may not, you probably don't need to plan a bathroom break. Oh yeah, another thing I like to do is have a bathroom at the start of the ride and at the start and finish. So ideally, like an ideal spot is like a community center or a park that has a porta potty or an indoor bathroom that's open. Having that bathroom available at the start of the ride and end of the ride, it makes, for myself as personally, a much more enjoyable ride knowing that that's there and you don't have to worry about hiding between cars in a parking lot somewhere, or if it's a ride start where you drove to. Again, a lot of the knowledge for this type of thing comes from riding with men for myself. And I've learned to do, everybody learns to get along with what they're comfortable with. But having a bathroom is definitely makes things a lot more enjoyable for myself. All right, before the ride, know your club or your team's emergency action plan, their activity guidelines, their emergency measures plan. So every club or team should have this. And it's kind of like, so the emergency action plan is when, if something bad happens, kind of what's the club's policy or standard procedures for dealing with an emergency. And then most clubs will also have a group ride etiquette document, or some call it a code of conduct. I think there's different names, but basically that group ride etiquette that your club or team has, you should be very familiar with. And your riders in the club should also be familiar with it. So if you've got people showing up for your ride that aren't familiar with it, like you should be able to direct them to where it is. And it kind of lets you know, like if you are in a drop ride, what are the standard, what are the situations where we will be allowed to drop a rider? And if everybody knows that ahead of time, it just makes things a lot easier. And then, so during the ride, now we are ready to ride. We've given all that information out. What do we do? So we're at the ride start. This is where everybody meets to get together to start their ride. They might drive there, they may ride there. So your duty as a ride leader is to confirm that everybody is a member. member of your club, member of your team. If they're a member of your club, that means they're automatically a member of Ontario Cycling, means they're covered for the insurance liability. You want to count your riders. If you start with 10, you want to end with 10, generally. If you have a new rider, ideally you want to welcome them, ask about their experience level, and ensure the rider will be able to ride safely and finish the route. If they have zero group ride experience, that's something else you should communicate as for the type of ride as to whether it's a new rider friendly group. So if you've got a social ride where you welcome a couple of brand new riders, then you're going to be talking to this person a lot during the ride. You're going to do a quick review of the route with your riders, the stops. You're going to explain the ride type again so they know whether it's social intervals training. You're going to explain the pace line that you're going to use, like whether it's single pace line, double pace line, that type of thing. Rider expectations, and ask them to communicate about the pace. So one problem that group rides often has is varying pace depending on who's on the front. So you need, if you've got a big group, you need people to communicate with each other. If you're on the front, you don't know that somebody on the back has dropped. So you need the people at the back to communicate up to the front riders to slow down, that somebody's off, that somebody's dropped. And also at the ride start, you're going to let the group know where there's a regroup planned. If you've got a stop at a stop sign or somewhere you're going to pull off, or if you've got a long climb, everybody's going to regroup at the top. Or if it's a mountain bike ride, you're going to stop at every trailhead and kind of regroup, get back together, and get going again.
Amy, we have one question.
All right.
So they wanted to know, as I seek to roll out ride leader training to my club, I'm seeing more value in going over all these details off the bike. Is there anything I would need to show ride leaders in an on-bike session?
Generally, on-bike sessions, I find like do a group ride. And as you do a group ride with these potential ride leaders, you're going to encounter everything. Like the best training is going to come from just being in a group and knowing what could be done better, right? Like if you're in a group with somebody else is leading and you're like, oh, it would be better if we knew about this ahead of time, then that's something you can kind of make a note of. I'm not sure if that answers the question or not, but just re-ask if or confirm if you want. Yeah.
Yeah. So like maybe like it did thumbs up. So like a simulation, basically.
Yeah. Even do a group ride with your most experienced riders in your club and have them do, because the experienced riders know all the bad things that could happen, and just have them simulate all the bad stuff, like somebody push the pace, somebody fall off the back, and that would actually be a very fun ride. Which one of them could do the worst?
Oh, that would be fun. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So so at the ride start, if you've got a long climb, let the group know where the long climb is and that you're going to regroup at the top. So this is just at the ride start, you're going over the kind of the major things, because you will still be communicating with this group as you're riding. During the ride, control the pace is one of the hardest things to do, especially if you've got a real mixed group of varying fitness levels. And when you're group riding on the road with traffic, you want to stay as a group. You want to be as compact as possible, ride as close together as possible, like obviously with what you're comfortable with. And you should know, everybody should know this from just from general group riding. So when you're climbing, the small climbs, you want to stay as a group. Don't let people go off the front up the hill. You want to stay as a group. On descents, don't let people that like to go down fast go off the front, go down. Stay as a group. You're going to be compact unless the group has decided that you're doing a long climb solo. Control the pace. Don't allow half wheeling. Just kind of a lot of experienced riders know just with some little hand signals like slow down, that kind of thing. Or if you're on the front with somebody that's half wheeling, you just kind of like ask them, can you just slow down a touch, that kind of thing. And as a ride leader, you can kind of maneuver yourself through the pace line to get at the front of the group before a climb or descent. And then when you're at the front, you can control the pace yourself. Or if you know that there is a stop or a turn coming, you can do that as well. And as a group leader, you want to keep your eye on the group to make sure everybody's staying nice and compact.
Okay, we have another question before we leave
Yep.
here. Someone
Yep.
would like to know what half wheeling is.
Okay. Okay. So, again, I'm kind of going through some of the stuff, assuming everybody knows what everything is, but please ask otherwise. So half wheeling is if you're riding two up, which means riding side by side. So, did I have a video of that? Okay. So this little video here is not playing, but that shows people riding two up. So it's just two people side by side and the whole group rides side by side. So when you're in the front, and one of the people in the front kind of pushes the pace a bit by riding a little bit further ahead. So you're the second person, you're a little bit further back, and this person is, so you try and catch up, but this person just keeps pulling forward. So you never quite catch. And what happens is your speed just keeps going up and up and up. So half wheeling is when you're the rider that's further ahead, causing this rider to try and keep up. So you want to ride with your front wheels kind of matching. And that's kind of something you just learn over time, is you kind of keep an eye on your ride partner who's beside you, and you match their pace. If they are going too slow or too fast, you just say, can you just slow down a bit, speed up a bit? You'll get to feel, because again, speed is it's hard to use speed as a measure, because as you hit climbs and descents, you're going to speed up and slow down. So it's kind of just an effort level based on the group you're in. So if somebody is half wheeling, you just kind of ask them to slow down a little bit. And if you're the half wheeler and you're the one that's constantly ahead, that means you're pushing too hard. So keep an eye on your ride partner and just pull back a bit.
Thanks, Amy.
Okay, next thing you want to do during the ride is you want to count your riders. So mountain biking at trailheads, when you're stopping at the trailhead, as people come in, count, make sure if you started with 10, make sure you've got 10. On the road at regroup points or stops, if you pull over for whatever reason, just to take a rest or whatever, count, make sure you still got your 10. It's just an easy thing to do. Like even after a bit, you kind of get to know your riders with the clubs. Like you get to know everybody in your club, but I find it's easier just to have a number in your head rather than, Jim, Bob, Sue, and everything like that. I see you unmuted. Is there another question?
Actually, it's a comment. It's a suggestion. So
Yeah.
sometimes now with so many people having fancy bike computers, you can use power or watts as something to keep consistent as opposed to speed, as you mentioned.
That's true, but that only works if you're on the front the whole time. When you're in the group, you're going to be pushing less watts because you're in the draft. So it's kind of when you're in the group, in the draft, what kind of effort are you putting out? When you get to the front, you're going to have to push a little harder. It's all an experience thing. As you do more and more group rides, you're going to get a feel for what that is. And again, if you're dropping a lot of people, you're pushing too hard for your group. As a ride leader, you need to get a feel for what your group is going to do for each ride. And every ride is going to be different depending on who shows up or what ride you want to do as a ride leader. All right, during the ride, as a ride leader, you are going to you're going to provide instructions. One of the most basic instructions is calling out and signaling turns as they come up. If you've in a large group, you're going to want other people to repeat that instruction. If you've only got 2 or 3 and you're calling out the turns, everybody's going to hear you. But if you've got a group of even 6, 8, the people at the back, if you're at the front calling a turn, the people at the back are not going to hear you. So just ask the group to communicate. You don't need to yell. You don't need to scream. It's just kind of everybody kind of point to the right if there's a right turn coming. If you're at the back, there's nobody behind you. You don't need to let anybody know. Well, unless there's cars behind you, then you should be signaling if there's cars behind you to let them know that you're turning. You're going to provide instruction by changing formation if needed based on circumstances. There's some roads in our area that we ride single file on. We don't ride 2 up as in this video here. And one of the common signals to do that is put your arm straight up in the air as a ride leader. I find not everybody knows that. That's kind of an old school thing. So I just yell single file, everybody single file, and you let everybody kind of merge in together, do a zipper merge over to the right, and everybody ride single file. And ask the group to communicate if a rider is dropping. Again, that's one of the hardest things. If there's a rider on the back that falls off, it's hard to let the people at the front people at the front don't know if a rider at the back is dropping. So if you're at the back and you see somebody falling off, yell up, just say off or slow, and the group will slow to allow that rider to come back in and get back in the group.
One comment,
Yeah.
and it's actually something that I was gonna bring up as well.
Yeah.
Somebody has mentioned that you cannot do double echelon in Quebec anywhere.
Oh, really?
And
Yeah.
yeah, and I know that around Ontario, there's different rules and regulations on that as well. So it's
Mhm.
probably a good idea to check with your municipality on
Yeah.
what the
Yeah.
rules are, even with your local police, although sometimes they don't know either.
No, yeah.
But like it's what those rules are with in terms of riders. Are you allowed to ride double or do you have to stay
Yeah.
single?
Yeah, and again, your club should know this based on your municipality. As a ride leader for your club should be able to give you that instruction. Yeah, like I think actually, I'm pretty sure KW, there's areas of KW where the police will ticket you if you're riding two up. Yeah, but in general, the Ontario HTA is fine with two up. So it might be a municipality thing. I guess we're lucky where I am that we're fine with two up where we are. Oh yeah, and you want to encourage everybody in your group to communicate positively, like with things that are happening, like the half wheeling. Don't yell, don't bark, don't be aggressive. We're all out to have a good time. If you're accidentally half wheeling, you may not even know you're half wheeling, so you don't want that person to get yelled at, like in an angry way to slow down, right? Just slow down a touch. Oh, you're pushing too hard. You know, there's ways to say these things without being aggressive. During the ride, again, this is kind of going back to the youth, but again, some adults need to be reminded to drink and eat. If it's a longer ride, adults should be self-sufficient, but sometimes you also need to be reminded. We used to ride with a former pro, and he had his Garmin. Okay, this guy was 49 years old. He had his Garmin set up to remind himself to drink. Every 15 minutes it beeped at him, so it reminded him to take a drink. And even on really hot days, you really should be reminding everybody to take a drink. I do this I actually do it with adults. When we were in South Carolina, we kind of did it as a joke. Every time you see a church, you got to take a drink. Because in South Carolina, there's a lot of churches on the back road. So that became a fun way to kind of make sure everybody was staying hydrated. So especially on a day when it's 30 degrees, you want to be going through more than a bottle an hour when it's hot. So remind people to drink and eat. And if you don't eat on a longer ride, your ride is going to end very badly. So there's nothing wrong with reminding people. Correcting unsafe action. So this is a really important one. Crossing wheels, surging, riding three wide, super high, super low cadence, hard braking, Highway Traffic Act infractions. These are all unsafe actions. I've actually got a list of more unsafe actions at the very end, just as kind of like a reference, just common ones, I guess. Because as ride leaders, we want our rides to be safe. Like that's always my first priority. I would rather have people not like me for giving instruction about unsafe actions than have something bad happen. So you always want to be safe. And again, some people may not know what they're doing is unsafe. So to have this discussion with them when you're beside them, if you're riding two up a double pace line, when you're beside them, just say to them, hey, you're using your little ring, you're spinning at a super high cadence, you're very unstable. Can you just slow, you want to be discreet. You don't want to yell from position 6 up to position 1 to somebody that, hey, stop doing this or whatever. If you think probably the person doesn't really understand why it's unsafe, just let them know the safety reasons for the corrections, and then they'll know for the next time. If it's a serious thing and it's repeated and the person isn't necessarily willing to correct themselves, have a discussion off the bike, pull the group off the side, pull that person kind of away from the rest of the group, and have a second rider witness the discussion is always a good idea. Remind that rider of the team or the club's code of conduct, and document the discussion to your club executive after the ride, because it might be repeat offender. If you've got somebody that isn't willing to correct themselves, it's likely a repeat offender, and the club should know about this. You are the ride leader. It's your responsibility for everybody to be as safe as possible. You have the right to remove a rider if they are unsafe. Again, these are adults. You can tell that person that they're unsafe, they're making your group unsafe, they have to leave the ride at that point. Or if they're violating ride etiquette, and they're unwilling to correct themselves. So if they're willing to correct, then obviously continue the ride. You had a question?
I do.
Yeah.
You're getting another routine.
I can tell. Yeah.
Can you please explain surging and hard braking?
Okay. Surging. A good example of surging is on a slight rise. So if you come along and there's a little bit of a rise in the road, some people like to push really hard as soon as they hit that bit of a climb, and so they surge ahead, and that causes the rest of the group to do an elastic where you have to go really hard to catch up to that person, and then the people that are in the back have to go really hard, and then the person that surged is now sitting up because they only surged for the climb, and everybody's coming in faster from behind. So it's dangerous because these people are now coming in fast, trying to catch the group into the back of these people. So again, the ideal group ride is you're a small, tight, compact group riding 2 up, or 1 or single file, depending on your municipality. And then hard braking. So that's when, so you're riding in a group, as tight together as possible, not overlapping wheels. Something happens, you see a speed, or not speed bump, but like a pothole, or there's something on the road that's been pointed out, and somebody points it out, and somebody could grab their brakes really hard to avoid the hole. Well, when you're in a group tight like this, that means the person behind you is going to run into the back of you. So you want to feather your brakes. Most potholes, not all, it's safer to hit a pothole than to slam on your brakes and have the person behind you run into you. Right? You can feather over the pothole by, taking your butt off the seat, basically, kind of evening out your, ideally, you're not going to hit the pothole, and not have to do any hard braking. And again, hard braking, if you're approaching a corner and you just slam on your brakes. So you want to slow down with the speed of the group. Does that make sense if that doesn't make sense for the hard braking, that I've also heard it called ham fisting. They call it ham fisting the brakes is what they call it. Just picture being in a big pack of cars, everybody's riding bumper to bumper, and one car slams on their brakes. It's not going to be a good thing.
Okay. Thank you, Amy.
Yeah. Okay. So you're the group leader. If you have weather come up in Southern Ontario, we get a lot of thunderstorms in the summer. Something comes up, there's construction, the road's detoured. As a ride leader, you can reroute the ride while you're on the ride. Especially if you're about to ride into a thunderstorm. You can cancel it and have everybody go back to the start. Just turn around and go back, reroute around a detour around construction. As a ride leader, that's kind of your responsibility to help the group safely return to the start or get around construction, that type of thing. If there's a mechanical, if you're on the side of the road fixing a flat, that type of thing, keep the group off the road. You will find in group rides that when somebody stops to fix a tire, the rest of the group likes to stand on the pavement. We don't like to put our cycling shoes in the gravel. Nobody likes to have their cycling shoes in the gravel as a road rider. So people will stand on the pavement, and cars still have to go around you as if you're riding on the road, but instead it's a mob of people standing on the side of the road. And I'm also very cognizant of our club's image with drivers and our community, basically. If you're wearing your club's colors or your team's colors, and they see you on the side of the road, just standing on the side of the road, taking up their space, and cars have to go around you, they're not gonna have a good image of that. So when you're off if you're not one of the people fixing the tire and there's no room for you off the road, ride up the road to a driveway, a side street. Just don't stand on the pavement and make the cars go around you, especially on a busy road. If this is a gravel ride and you're on a road that gets 1 car an hour, then it's not a big deal. Somebody should still keep an eye out for cars. But again, you want to maintain your club's reputation in the community. And if you're wearing your club or your team colors, you are representing them. And riding in a tight, compact group, not spread out all over the road, is gonna be a better image for you. After the ride, okay, you're done. Count your riders. Congratulations if you did not lose anyone. I think this one is probably more. I have with the kids. So for me, it's most at mountain biking, because it's really easy to lose a kid mountain biking if there's trails that are not marked well. And we have some trails in our area that don't have very good signage. So you may have a kid that went a different way because there was an offshoot before the end of the trail. Anyway, if you don't lose anybody, that's great. If you had any serious safety concerns with a single rider or with other issues or anything, document everything. Send an email to your club exec, your team, your touring director, whoever is part of your club or team that kind of takes care of that if there was any issues. All right, what to bring with you. Okay, so to check members at the start of the ride, you're going to need a member list. So quite often we've got, you'll likely have access to CCN maybe with everybody that's a club member, or your club is going to give you a list of current members. That member list should also have emergency contact information for your clubs. Again, this may not be mandatory, but I think it's kind of like a best practice to have that emergency contact information. Again, if somebody needs to call for a ride and they forgot their cell phone or whatever, then you've got their emergency contact information there. A toolkit. I like to have a multi-tool, a spare tube, a valve extender. That's for people with the really deep wheels. A lot of people will have their toolkit and their spare tire, and they pull everything out and they realize that they've got a spare tube with a valve that's this long and their rims are this deep. So the tube will not work. This actually happened in South Carolina. So a valve extender extends a valve that's this big to this big to allow you to use those fancy rims. I like to bring a hand pump as well as CO2 and an inflator. If the CO2, sometimes the CO2s will be bad. Sometimes when you go to put the inflator on, it just goes. So for me, I feel more comfortable having a hand pump. You're not going to get 100 PSI with a hand pump, but you're going to get enough air to get you where you need to go. And today, a lot of people in road tires are running a little bit bigger, and they're only running like 50 to 70 PSI anyway. So the CO2 is less of an issue. I just like the hand pump because it's kind of like guaranteed. CO2 is easier when it works, but when it doesn't work, you're kind of done. And as a ride leader, the hand pump works for everybody. So you're good. Cell phone. Bad things happen. You get lost. Your Garmin goes dead. If you have a cell phone, then you can call 911. You can call your spouse. You can call somebody to come get you. You need food and water for yourself. Put electrolytes in that water, especially if it's hot. Some people put calories in their water depending on how hard the ride is. Make sure you have enough for yourself. Extra stuff. As a ride leader, I quite often bring extra. Again, adults should be self-sufficient, but it's not hard to throw an extra gel in your pocket, just in case. It's come in handy when you've got a rider that forgot, or they thought their water had food in it, had calories, and it didn't, and they're going to bonk, and you're on a 4-hour ride, a 4-hour gravel ride with no stops. Well, you can give them a little bit of something anyway. Again, it depends on the types of riders. So if I was leading a ride with a lot of brand new riders or newer riders, I would probably bring an extra tube as well, just in case. Sometimes the newer riders are given hand-me-downs. from family members or friends, and their toolkit, you'll open it up and the tube is from 10 years ago, and it's got 2 holes worn through it from being in that saddlebag for 10 years. All right, so what if? So there are a million what if scenarios. I've just put kind of the most common for myself anyway, items that things that could happen on a group ride. So obviously unsafe movements, we talked about that. That's gonna happen on pretty much on every ride. Pushing the pace, a suffering or a dropped rider, a long climb or a long descent, and then a crash with or without injury. So unsafe movements, again, these are people that are riding dangerously, and it puts the whole group at risk. So like I said earlier, you want to provide correction to the rider. Try to talk discreetly when you're riding beside them or at a stop. Discourage criticism from other group members. So sometimes you'll have in a group where everybody starts barking out to everybody. Like you'll have one person that did something wrong and all of a sudden everybody starts yelling at them. And it's like, try and discourage criticism from other members. You as a group leader, and you might have a co-leader, you guys are kind of in control of the ride, and you should be the ones that are doing the corrections, not the other group members. The other group members should be there to enjoy themselves. They shouldn't have to worry about. And that's kind of like one of the responsibilities of being the group leader. And again, focus on positive reinforcement with the riders, because they may not know what they're doing is unsafe, but let them know it's 0 tolerance for unsafety, like for being unsafe. Again, explain the reason for the corrections from a safety perspective. And if you do have a brand new rider or a newer rider, try not to overwhelm them with constant corrections, because they're not going to remember all. If you're giving them, if they're learning how to group ride with all the intricacies of riding 2-up pace lines, you go left or you go right, like don't overwhelm them with constant corrections and instruction, but ask them to follow the other's riding style. Pushing the pace. So if you've got the 2 riders at the front, just keep pulling, getting a little bit harder and harder and harder. Call up, have the group call up to the lead riders and say, ease up, slow. If they aren't kind of doing that, next time you're at a stop sign, or ask the group to pull over and just discuss the pace with them. Just say it's a little too hard. We need to bring it back a little bit. If you've got a suffering or a dropped rider. So if your ride is a no drop ride and you're going to do the pace of the slowest rider, then you're going to slow the pace of the entire group, to make sure that rider can maintain the pace. You can also have that rider stay at the back of the pace line and out of the pace line rotation. So that rider is now at the very back of the group. They're not going to join in any rotation, but they're constantly in the draft. So that should help them keep the pace in. They're pushing less watts to go the same pace as everybody else. If the winds are very heavy, which happens a lot in our area, keep the rider in a protected position. Put the strongest riders around them so that the wind is blocked, and don't have that rider rotate through the pace line. I've been that person a lot when I first started learning how to group ride, because again, I'm riding with a bunch of guys and we've got crosswinds in Southern Ontario at 40, 50 kilometers an hour, and being small, it's hard. It's hard to push into that wind. So they would put some big guys around me, and it was still hard, but I was able to stay in the group and we were able to continue, because there's times when you have a rider with the winds like that, they may not be able to continue. Like they're going to be going 10 kilometers an hour trying to push into that wind. So get them in protected, keep them out of the pace line. It's actually kind of a lot of fun. It kind of creates a camaraderie if you're helping a couple people, 1 or 2 people kind of get home, and then that person feels very accomplished when they actually do finish the ride. If you have a kind of a second co-leader in your group, or somebody that is a ride leader, and there's a clear division in your group, like say you've got 10 people and it looks like, you know what, we've got 5 people that are pretty strong, and then 5 people that kind of want to do about 5 kilometers an hour slower. You can split the group if that second ride leader has the route and knows all the information and that type of thing. That's one option if you've got a suffering rider. And if that rider cannot continue, if they've completely bonked, they brought no food, they can't do another pedal stroke, have them call for a ride. Again, adults, self-sufficient. You are there for the group. You can't stop a group, the rest of the people for one individual. But courtesy is to check in with that rider after the ride or at a stop, make sure that they've got their ride has come and that they can get home. I didn't have a suffering rider, but I had an individual that went through 3 tubes and broke his shoe on a single ride. And I'm like, we're out of tubes. Everybody's given up their tube to this guy. And they're like, I'm sorry, but we have to continue. It was only about 4 degrees out. It was very cold. And we couldn't all stop. And his wife was available to come get him. So she was still 45 minutes away, but we continued on. And when we got back, I called and made sure he did get back. Long climber descent. So in a group, so this is kind of, there is no set amount, but for me, I kind of look at anything over about 1 kilometer. If you've got a climb that's about 1 kilometer long or longer, your group is going to climb at different levels. If you want to allow them to do the climb at their own pace, let them know and say, do the climb at your own pace, and we're going to regroup at the top or at the first driveway after the top or that type of thing. That allows them, like if somebody's been going pretty easy, they can do an effort up the hill, or if somebody's been pushing really hard to stay in the group, they can do the climb at their own pace. They don't have to try and kill themselves to get up the hill. Let them know that they're going to be riding single file and on the right-hand side of the road. It's not a free fall. We don't go near the yellow line, and not to impede traffic. So again, you want to make sure that everybody's not like blobbed up and that cars can't go around. Because when you are climbing, you are going a lot slower than normal. So sometimes it's harder for cars to get around you. And the same thing for a descent. Some people can go down at 70 kilometers an hour down a long descent. And again, short descent, stay together. Long descent, somebody might want to go a lot faster, or somebody is uncomfortable with descending and they may only do 20 kilometers an hour because they're scared, and that's fine. Have everybody regroup at the bottom in a driveway or the next crossroad, and then everybody can get back together there. You see that? Is there a question there?
There is a comment.
Yeah. Okay.
We often ride in areas that cars cannot go, so we need to have variations for supporting suffering riders. Processes to get to nearest road, leaving a rider with the suffering rider, staying in contact to know what's going on, etc.
Yeah, so that'd be like a trail, like a mountain bike ride where you can't call for a ride. So I guess they would have to walk out, I'm guessing, that would be what I would have to do is if you're in the trail and you just can't ride anymore. Yeah, I think I would, in that case, I think I would probably assign somebody from the group to stay with that person or to help them get out.
Yeah, Gatineau Park is closed to cars.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, we don't have that down here, so that's something I've not encountered. Yeah. So I find out after what you do. How do you get out of there if you can't? All right, some more what ifs here. All right, so let's say, okay, we've got a crash. It happens. It's going to happen. Well, hopefully it doesn't happen, but things happen. Hopefully not involving cars. Sometimes, again, you got somebody that brakes too hard, you run into the back of them, that type of thing. So if you've got a crash without serious injury, people go down. Determine if any of the mechanicals, but no serious injury. So determine if any of the mechanicals require a rider to abandon and call for a ride. Anybody requires minor first aid. Some clubs, we actually just discussed that in our club as to whether we would carry a small first aid kit. The ride leader has to carry a small first aid kit because you could fit a small pack with some alcohol wipes and some band-aids and that type of thing in your pockets to do these types of small crashes, just some road rash, that type of thing. Shorten the ride if necessary. Head back to the start from where you are. That we quite often do that if you've had a small crash, somebody skinned their knee or whatever, like it might still hurt. Like you're not seriously injured, but it still hurts. And people sometimes get scared when things like that happen. And you get a little panicky, and it's sometimes it's best just to end the ride. Well, not end it right there, but kind of shorten it and just get back to the start. At the end of when you get back, you want to document that with the Ontario Cycling has a sport injury report form, where you as ride leader will most likely be the witness on that form. And you can give that to your club exec to fill out and send it to OC. Question there?
Yeah. Would you recommend that ride leaders have CPR certification?
Not necessarily. It's ideally, yes. But again, then you're going to limit the number of ride leaders you can have if you require that in your team or in your club. If your club is big enough that you can require it and still have enough ride leaders to do the rides that you want to do, then that's great. But obviously it's an ideal situation if everybody had first aid, if everybody had emergency CPR and that type of thing, that would be great. But you're dealing with volunteers. You can't, again, my opinion, you can't force. I'd rather see more rides than more ride leaders than not. Okay, if you have a crash with a serious injury, cars run into the back of your group, or somebody went down, hit their head, possible concussion, that type of thing, follow your club or team's emergency measures or risk management plan. Now, usually your emergency measures or risk management plan is going to consist of just what I've listed out there. Call 911 as a ride leader, you take charge, delegate the duties to the non-injured riders, have somebody go and flag down the first responder vehicles. When you see that ambulance or police car coming, put your hands up, get them over there. Have somebody kind of direct traffic around. If you've got somebody that can't be moved and it's on the road, you're going to want people to, get traffic, don't let somebody else run over your club mate. Have somebody call the emergency contacts of your injured riders, and assemble the other riders off the road. Have one of your non-injured riders assemble the rest of the non-injured riders off the road, get them out of the way. Again, we don't want other people to get hit if something like that has happened. And if you do have emergency first aid, or you've got somebody in your group that is emergency first aid, administer the emergency first aid if you are trained. And again, that's obviously, we hope this doesn't happen, but it does. We had it happen 2 years ago here in London. Yeah. Pickup truck ran into the back of a group of riders on purpose. And that's it. So Q&A, and then here's a slide I just did real quick of some sample unsafe riding habits or occurrences. So it's the riding 3 abreast, riding with your hands on the tops away from the brakes, stopping on the road for mechanicals, higher low cadence, hard braking, standing and allowing the bike to slow. So that's when you go from a sitting position on your saddle to standing and pushing on the pedals, like to climb a hill. And a lot of times when you do that, your bike slows down. And then that's kind of a group riding skill as well. Not communicating hazards. So when you see a pothole, you point it out. Any violation of the Highway Traffic Act is unsafe. Crossing the center line is always unsafe. Riding close to the center line is unsafe. Overlapping wheels, passing your own group on the right-hand side. Stop. So an echelon is if it's windy's coming from one direction. So you might stagger your riders. So if you've got a lot of traffic behind you and because you're blocking a full lane, stop your echelon. Just deal with the wind for a little bit to allow the traffic to go around. Excessive body motion. So if you're moving around a lot, your bike's going to be moving around and you're unpredictable. That's unsafe as well. So they're just some examples there. The most common unsafe riding. And thank you.
That was great, Amy. Thank you. And everyone, we will be sending the slides through via email. So you will have a copy of this presentation, which is great. It's a great resource. If anyone has any questions, please put them in the Q&A and we can answer those as we go along. But yeah, if no one else is in it.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead,
Amy. This is also like a living document.
Yes.
If anybody has a specific item they think that should be in here, and again, this was kind of geared towards road and gravel and less towards mountain biking. So I think there could be a whole nother hour on mountain bike rides, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, if this is a living document, if somebody has anything else they think is very important, please let me know. Yeah.
Okay, I have a couple thank yous and very helpful. No other questions. So if no one has any further questions, we were able to answer the questions during the presentation. That's fantastic. But the video of this will be posted online on our Women and Girls in Cycling website. We've been posting, and we will continue to post all the webinars from this month on there. So yeah, really, this was great, Amy. Thank you so much for doing this. And everyone, thank you so much for joining us tonight and taking time out of a Sunday evening. It's very informative, and we really appreciate everyone joining us this evening. So thank you so
Yes.
much. Oh, wait, we did get a question. There we go.
Yay.
Any situations where you promote take the lane? And so this individual's club does in some circumstances.
Yeah, I take the lane if we're like in the city and there's like two lanes for the same direction of traffic. If there's a right-hand lane that's available, well, I guess riding two up, you're kind of taking the lane anyway, because there's only half a lane available for cars. But yeah, I still, even if there is a full right-hand lane, I still try and stay a bit to the right, just because it looks more neat and tidy than a kind of mob. I guess if we're going to be turning left, I take the lane to move across, that type of thing. I have the group take the lane, check for traffic and take the lane. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. There's no more questions. I believe that we are done for this evening. That was great. Thank you.
Awesome.
And thank you to everybody for joining. Yeah, so if there's anything else though, anyone has anything else they want to learn about, I will be sending an email out I'll have my email on it. So if you do have any further questions, you can reach out through that and I can pass them on. Amy, if you're comfortable, I can include your email if that's okay. And then people
Yeah, for sure.
can provide feedback to Amy if there's anything, as she says, that you think should be added or
Yeah.
recommendations in terms of scenarios. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we could start a whole separate document with all the
Yeah,
scenarios,
that would be amazing. That'd be
best
really great.
practices. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd
Yeah.
be so great. Okay, everyone, thank you so much. I'm going to stop recording.